Hey everyone, Sean Smith here with Dedicated Commercial Recovery. I have Monica Harper joining me from Aacfb. Monica, thanks for joining me on the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
It's exciting to be able to talk, even though I'm going to get to see you here. When this video comes out, will be literally later in the day or the next day. So exciting. But, for those that don't know what Aacfb is, maybe you could share your background, start out with your background, and then we'll kind of go into how that transitions into Aacfb.
Right. So just for me personally, I was born and raised here in Louisville, Kentucky, graduated from Spalding University with degrees in communications and fine art. After college, I accepted a position with FSA Management Group, which is an association management firm here in Louisville. And I worked on about 7 different associations over the years. Finally, in 2004, the then NAELB came on board with the firm, and I assumed the role of executive director in 2005 and never looked back. For me personally, I share 4 teenage children with my husband of 20 years, Jeff, and currently teaching 2 of them to drive. So the twins will be next in line if we don't have nervous breakdowns from the first 2.
A couple things that stick out to me is I too have 4. So I have one that's just approaching, I have 14-year-old, my oldest. And so I'm right there with you as we get that first car and we start doing those type of things. So, and then it's just reminding me, I used to, like I'd said off camera, I used to go to the South all the time for business. And I would always get corrected when I was in Louisville. That's Louisville. And it's not Louisville, it's not Louisville, it's Louisville,
Exactly.
So, we're putting a little educational dissertation on for those listening here. If you ever go to Louisville, make sure you pronounce it right or you will be corrected.
Exactly.
So again, thank you for being on. I'd be interested in then, so with that background, you touched on it a little bit, but you came on the organization earlier, and for me, I specifically remember back in the around 2017, 2018 timeframe. I don't know what switched, but I know we went through the name change at some point as well, and just maybe share some history of the Aacfb and how it comes to where it is now, and maybe some of those transitions.
Right. So the Aacfb was formerly the National Association of Equipment Leasing Brokers, or the NAELB. And the name was changed in 2018 to better reflect the diversity of the products that our members were servicing. So it wasn't just equipment leasing. There were all different types of commercial finance going on, and we wanted our name to reflect that. So we changed that in 2018. And so that is, when you probably came on was when we were doing that big transition.
Yep. Yeah, I think I first started attending when it was NAELB for a little bit. I think it was like 2016, 2017 time frame. And then it went through that transition. And and I maybe I had more interaction with a gal that used to be on the team, Astrid. So that was kind of my main point of contact. Now we've been now I'm talking to you more often. And again, on camera, I just want to say thanks again, taking this interview right before the conference. I'm sure you're quite overloaded with getting all those little things done right before the conference. So thank you for that as well.
No problem.
Could you share maybe some things coming up? I know this is, by the time this comes out, it's going to be pretty short notice, but just to give people some idea about an Aacfb conference, maybe what sets it apart and just what people could expect coming out to one of the conferences.
Right. So we generally have 2 events a year. We have our annual conference and we have the Commercial Financing Expo. Usually the annual conference is in the April-May timeframe, and the expo is in more like September. With COVID and everything, we flip-flopped those. We had the expo as a virtual conference earlier this year, and then we're getting ready to have our annual conference as a hybrid event next week. So this is going to be a new experience for everyone. over the last year, we've done the virtual events, and now we're marrying the two. If you're attending in person, you have the option this year of doing the sessions either in person or virtually. We'll be live streaming all of the sessions, so there'll be a certain percentage of the attendees that are virtual only, and they'll be able to join via Zoom in our mobile app. And then our in-person attendees can either be there in the room or they can watch the sessions in the mobile app as well. So the key is to give flexibility. With everybody has different comfort levels with how they are this year, and we're trying to make sure that we meet everybody where they are and give them that flexibility. So the exhibit hall, we have close to 50 exhibitors this year, and that is where the magic happens a lot, where people can meet face to face, see eye to eye, and maybe not see their whole face this year, but but at least we'll look them in the eye.
We'll definitely be eye to eye, right?
So like this year will be a little bit different. We're going to have very large rooms with sporadic seating to keep everybody safe and comfortable. But normally it's a great opportunity to get in on educational sessions, meet with exhibitors. We have an opening reception this year. It'll be at the pool, so we'll be outside, and that's always a great time with food. And we'll have a live band this year. I mean, we're in Nashville, so you have to have a live band, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just a really great opportunity. I think if you talk to people that have been to our events year after year, a lot of them come back every year, and part of it is that they've met people in previous years and they want to come back and meet the same people again. And it's just nice, especially when this industry, some of our brokers especially, they may be one person operations. They might not have a big staff or other colleagues that they're communicating with a lot of times. So this is an opportunity for those people to get together with their colleagues and talk the talk, and they get each other, so it's just a really great opportunity.
Yeah, we've had a great experience over the years. I see it as so multifaceted. I think not only do you have the educational side, but you have funding companies of all sorts that are looking to meet more brokers to fund more deals. They have it. They have the line, they want to get the deals out there, and it's a competitive market out there, right? So if you're a funder, you can get in front of more brokers. It's really designed around attracting the most amount of brokers. And quite frankly, of any show that I go to, and I go to basically everything in commercial finance there is, this is one of the ones that does one of the best jobs of really focusing on it being for the brokers, getting a lot of brokers there. But then also, I know a lot of brokers that go there, and I remember introducing some of them around funders when they were new, and they're trying to get deals funded, and maybe they have 1, 2, 5, 10 sources, but there's specific situations that come up that don't meet those boxes, that they're able to meet new partners and get deals done. So it's all around a great event from the service provider perspective. It's been great networking, and it's been a group that really promotes it, each other, and will walk you over, introduce you to somebody else. Oh, you need to meet this person, you need to meet that person. So definitely would recommend it to anyone. We've stayed members and come out to every conference since the first one. So definitely would promote it from our end on the attendee side as well. And for me, I see the industry going, I think there's going to be a lot more of that hybrid things, but I also, I was just thinking, I've already been out to quite a few conferences this year. Everyone is exceeding attendance. People are ready to get back out. People are either vaccinated, or they know they could be going into an environment where people are not, and they're okay because they either trust being vaccinated or they trust being cautious. And for me, that was, if I'm going to go out, I'm going to do all this traveling. That was something I personally chose to do, but I also am aware of the situation. But every conference I've been going to has just been exceeding the numbers. It's been great. We've been doing more business. We've been getting more relationships. And the people that do this type of things, at least from my end, I'd be interested to know from your end, they just kind of know the situation and they either make the choice to get out or they don't. But the people that do want to get out are getting out in numbers. They're happy to get back on the road. You know, they're all of the conference. I'm sure there's going to be masks, there's going to be sanitizer, there's going to be distancing. So everyone's taking this very seriously, but we still need to do business. But how do you see, you know, there's a lot of hybrid, there's a lot of online stuff now. How do you see the future of, I would say, doing conferences, but then also as it pertains to the commercial finance industry? What do you see as you, in the circles you run in, you know, talks of what's ahead? What do you see?
You know, I'm probably, it's hard for me to comment on the future of the industry because I'm not in the trenches doing the finance deals. But I think the ability, and this is anybody, to adapt and change is always going to be the hallmark of successful commercial finance professionals. There are going to be regulations to deal with. You know, it's not going to be just California. You know, in some of those places, there's going to be regulations to deal with. Technology is ever changing. And while it streamlines some processes, the function, you know, the functions of business, it also opens you up to cyber insecurity. So brokers and so forth, they're going to need to adapt and adjust to all these things to be successful. And again, that's with any industry. But that's the world we live in.
Yep, I agree. And I think that the hybrid, the both online and in person, is going to be here to stay. There's going to be, you know, it may go back to the in-person meetings, but then I think I see organizations like Aacfb also bringing on that online element, that virtual element, and so really utilizing both, because there's a place, and it can be optimal depending on the situation for both. There's a case to be made for both, I guess would be the best way to put it. And it's not throwing out the baby with the bathwater and saying, well, I'm not going to do one or the other, or once COVID's ever, I'm never going to do anything virtual. I really think it's going to be this world of both, and how can we optimize that? And that seems to be a focus with Aacfb, is how can we optimize the experience on both? And you guys really went online virtual right away and had, you know, were working those platforms, quite frankly, as they were still working out a lot of the kinks, but you were one of the first. I mean, I remember, in fact, I think the first online conference I went to was Aacfb. So, you know, I know that took immense work on your behalf to make that happen, and your team. So kudos
Yeah,
to you guys.
we really had to pivot quickly because right up until maybe a month before, everybody thought this was just going to be short term thing, and okay, this is going to go away in the summer and it's going to be
Right.
fine, you know. And then when it didn't, it was like, okay, what do we do? And we all got some new skill sets added to our resume. I will say that.
Yes,
And
we
you're
did.
right. There's a lot of virtual technology and virtual event technology. Some of it was out there, but it wasn't being used a lot. And so you had to jump right into saying what's out there and what can it do, and how can we maximize that for our membership. So fortunately, we were able to find a platform that would give us what we needed for the most part. It's never going to replace in person. Like I said, you want to see someone eye to eye. People work with the people they trust, and I think they trust them more when they see them in person. But when it comes to education delivery, I think people can learn virtually and in person. We've learned to do that over the past year and a half. So I don't see the virtual aspects going away at all either.
Yeah, I think there's really a case to be made for both, and I agree. I mean, sometimes I feel like people they think like, oh, we're never going back to person. Like, we're going back to person. There's a large I mean, literally, I've been to 3 or 4 conferences so far this year, and everyone was exceeding attendance by 20 to 30%. People were just so cooped up. They're like, you know what? I'm vaccinated. I'm getting up. You know,
Right.
and so I'm excited. And I think Nashville is the perfect place to kick off in person. And for those of you watching, we talked about this earlier, but the event, when this video comes out, is actually basically starting, I think, today, the day this is coming out. So One thing I've learned about AACFB is that I always come away not just with the education and the networking opportunities, but usually a good story or two with your longevity in the industry and running these things. I thought it'd be fun if you shared a funny story. Maybe we'll omit some names from the story, but if you had anything from an AACFB conference that was really memorable to you, that was kind of a funny story.
Well, actually, we have our Women in Finance luncheon every conference, and occasionally we'll have a gentleman or two that want to be in on it. And in the spirit of inclusion, we welcome them along with all the ladies. At our 2019 conference in Las Vegas, one of our past presidents, Spencer Richmond, I don't think he'll mind that I say his name. But he decided to join us at the women's luncheon, and in an effort to fit in with the crowd, he showed up with a black wig about the year and kept it on through the whole lunch, and just a really great sport about it. So every time we have pictures from that luncheon, every time I see that pictures of that luncheon, I have a good laugh because he's such a good sport.
I have found the group to be so much fun, and I've met lifelong friends from the group. People I would go and visit if I was in town, or hang out with regardless. So there's definitely, I think there's just such a case for if you're thinking about getting out to one of these conferences, you want to expand the business that you're doing, expand your relationships, and it's just a lot of fun. It really is. Um, there's just such a case for making the time, which is hard to do, especially when you're a broker, like you said, you're a one or two man shop, and you're trying to make things happen. Uh, as we wrap up here, though, I thought okay, so we've talked about the organizations quite a bit and a little bit of your background, but maybe a fun fact about yourself that people might not know about you. I just kind of like to wrap up that way.
Um, well, I will say I have a little bit of a sibling rivalry with my brother. And I once went bungee jumping on a dare and ended up with two black eyes because you were supposed to just dive off the platform, and I couldn't bring myself to dive off the platform, so I just walked off the platform so I wasn't looking down, and that is not the way to do it. So there was a lot of bouncing around that was not supposed to happen, and ended up coming down off of that with two black eyes. But
Wow.
yeah, so he went on to do skydiving, and I drew the line there. So I said, you know what, maybe not.
I was just watching a deal where a lady was doing that down, I think in like Africa or something, and the line snapped and she lived. But you know what? I'll take a couple black eyes. I've never bungee jumped. Kudos to you. That's very daring. I did do the kind of on a dare actually. Guy Zelenka, who's a member of AACFB, he had one year jumped off of in Vegas off of it's like the stratosphere. There's a controlled fall off of that. And he was showing everybody videos. I'm like, that's the coolest thing. And so Don Wampler and I had made a bet. Basically, if we gamble a little bit and won anything, we'd go over and do that. And we both won. And so we went and took that money over and went and did it. And it was terrifying, but it was like absolutely terrifying. But it was one of the coolest experiences. We still talk about it today. And again, that just kind of comes back to, why it's fun to go out to these conferences. So, but Monica, thank you for all you do for all the members of AACFB. Obviously, you're working very hard behind the scenes, help us all be successful. I just know you're so respected behind closed doors and appreciated. And thank you for taking time again right before the conference. I look forward to seeing you in person here soon. Just for taking the time, I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And I forgot to mention, this is our 30th anniversary. So we will be celebrating. We've been celebrating all year long, but this is going to be our big celebration of our 30th anniversary. And we're happy to have been around that long. And here's to 30 plus more.
30 plus more. Yeah. I hope to see everybody out there that's tuning on this video. If not, make sure you do. And Yeah, and thank you, Monica, for being on, and thank you for everyone that tunes into this. We continue to be amazed by the number of people that like and subscribe and share this and comment, and just it's far exceeded our expectations when we first started doing it. So thank you to all of you, and as always, God bless.